Hey everybody, before I get this review started, I want to give a shout out to my man Sean Hicks, who's doing this thing over on Facebook with his music book page. Yes, the music book page. If you're into any type of music, no, I don't care how old you are, how young you are, what color you are, what ethnicity you are, what genre of music you like, what age of music you like, Sean has got you covered on his music book page on Facebook. Yes, the music book page. Go check it out. If you're into music, you will love it. All right. So let's talk about Tron Ares. Tron Ares stars Jared Leto as Ares, Greta Lee as Eve Kim, CEO of Incom, Evan Peters as Julian Dillinger, CEO of the Dillinger Corporation, Jodie Turner-Smith as Athena, and Gillian Anderson as Julian's mother, Gillian Anderson being from the X-Files. And there's also a cameo that I'm not sure if it's meant to be a surprise, so I don't want to spoil it accidentally, so I won't mention who it is. You may have seen this person in the trailers, but I haven't seen him, so I'm not going to say. I will say up front that I wasn't a fan of Tron Legacy. Matter of fact, I remember almost nothing about that movie at all, other than Jeff Bridges being de-aged. And I'll also say that the original Tron from 1982, what I recall was that that story wasn't all that great, but the selling point of that film was the visual effects, which were groundbreaking at the time. Tron Ares also has some amazing visual effects, and deservedly so, because we're in 2025 now. But, well, let's just say the visual effects is about all there is to this movie. The story is pretty simple. You got two competing computer corporations, Incom, the corporation from the previous two movies run by Eve Kim, that's Greta Lee's character, and the Dillinger Corporation run by Julian Dillinger, played by Evan Peters of X-Men Quicksilver fame, and his mom, played by Gillian Anderson, which makes for a kind of weird team-up. I'll get to that later. In this movie, both Incom and Dillinger have developed the ability to bring digital constructs and humanoids into the real world. So it's kind of an inverse of what we saw in Tron and Tron Legacy, where humans were digitized and taken into the computer mainframe. This one, they're taken out of the mainframe and brought into the real world, but the problem is they only last for 29 minutes, after which time they disintegrate. Now for the humanoids, they disintegrate painfully, clearly very painfully, whereupon another digital humanoid copy can simply be created. So according to Julian Dillinger, these humanoids are deemed to be expendable. So when we first hear that, we kind of know, well, that must be the bad guy. But here's the thing, the ability to create life in essence, which is a theme of this movie, and that life which only survives for about 29 minutes, even if it is just digital life, that's an interesting theme to be explored from an ethical or from a moral standpoint. Now, there's nothing original about that concept. Matter of fact, we just had the movie, 3-4 months ago, Mickey 17, which was in theaters, which also touched on this theme of being able to recreate life after life and how that life is expendable. But it'd be interesting if this film were to examine that theme in this franchise that's been around for 43 years. They do nothing of the sort with that concept. Both of these companies, Incom and Dillinger, are looking for the permanence code, which will allow the digital constructs and the humanoids, digital humanoids, to maintain integrity permanently. Incom wants to use the code to benefit mankind. That's Eve Kim's corporation, while Dillinger wants to create permanent digital armies and weapons to sell to the government. Talk about unoriginal, right? So we have a clear delineation about who's good and who's evil and who we should be following, who we should be invested in, or who we should identify with. But that's okay, whatever. The movie gives us clear definitions of that, of good versus evil. Ares, which is Jared Leto's character, he's named after the Greek god of war, and he's the leader of Dillinger's digital army. And then there's Athena, another digital humanoid played by Jodie Turner-Smith. Athena is Ares' second in command. Their job is to retrieve the permanence code by any means necessary. That's the order that Julian Dillinger gave Ares and Ares wants Athena to help him carry that out. That's all I'm going to reveal of the plot. I think that's enough. So the movie introduces characters never seen before in this franchise, and other critics have complained about that, but that didn't bother me at all. It's not like the two previous movies had that much of an impact that I had to go back to them and see the same characters. I don't remember hardly whatever happened in the first two movies, to be honest. But it also didn't bother me that the movie takes place in the real world as opposed to the two previous movies, which are set in the computerverse. I've seen a lot of reviews that complain about that as well. Did not bother me at all. I also love the idea of the constructs only having 29 minutes of permanence. I thought that put a fresh spin on the whole concept, but the movie doesn't explore any of that. That is to say, it doesn't bother to incorporate any existential philosophies around this, or any type of thought around the moral implications of creating beings who in effect suffer and die every 29 minutes. They're described as being the most advanced AI in the world that the world has ever seen, which one could argue then that there's no sentience in these AI beings, so we're not really doing anything immoral when they die in 29 minutes or they're deconstructed, but they clearly suffer in agony. They scream and howl when they disintegrate. So why make the effort of showing us, the audience, that suffering, which is very graphic? Why show us the disintegration and not deal with that issue in the script? Then you've got a whole new concept that you can introduce in this franchise. Gillian Anderson's character, who plays Julian Dillinger's mom and partner in the company, she's the only person who slightly pushes back on her son's increasingly evil plans. But that's all she does for the whole movie, complain about how evil he is. She doesn't do anything to try to stop him. And, well, in the third act, she does something to try to supplant his rule over the company, but by then it's way too late. I can't think of any other purpose her character serves other than to just complain about her son, in which case, why write this character at all? She's not really necessary. I can't think of any other plot point she serves. And that's not even a plot point, really. And why give her an inexplicable British accent? I didn't get that either. Jared Leto, well, I haven't seen a lot of his work, but what I have seen, Morbius, Suicide Squad, remember his Cholo Joker? I just haven't been that impressed. I've heard he was good in the Dallas Buyers Club. I haven't seen it. But anyway, I thought it was kind of weird that he has this Keanu Reeves John Wick look, and he emotes pretty much the same way Keanu does. That is to say, hardly at all. Now, for Keanu, that works in the John Wick movies. Here, it just seems like with everything else going on, with all the other characters that surround this guy and what his purpose is in this film, I needed to see a little bit more emotion instead of the 99% of the time he just wears that same expression, like just a plain, bland expression. But then again, Jodie Turner-Smith's character, Athena, she looks odd in her own way with her short, natural hair, which is dyed blonde. I mean, it's cool that Dillinger's mainframe that creates all of these characters, unlike our current Secretary of War in real life, Dillinger allows for DEI hires and also for beardos. Go ahead and look it up. Our Secretary of War literally said no beardos in the military moving forward. But I don't want to get sidetracked. But it's just curious to me how the algorithm decides things like race, eye color, facial hair. You know, Ares gets to have long hair and a Keanu Reeves beard. Athena gets to have short, natural hair, but it's dyed blonde. I think she has weird colored eye contacts. I'd just be interested to know why the computer said, let's create this, and let's create that. Not a big deal, just interesting. All the characters in this movie, with the exception of one character, are two-dimensional. I mean two-dimensional, with the dimmest of motivations driving them. I just found myself bored by these poorly written characters. Ares is like Pinocchio. He wants to be a real boy, not just a digital construct. Again, that is a great thing to explore, but it's only explored at a surface level. There's not much done with it. And he doesn't express any type of grief, sadness, excitement when he achieves whatever he achieves, or he fails and what he fails at. So I don't feel invested in him like I want him to succeed, because he doesn't seem to care like he succeeds, whether he succeeds or not. Why should I care? Julian Dillinger, Evan Peters' character, is just a stock evil character whose motivation is simply to make money creating weapons. He's like the Lex Luthor from that Superman movie. And even that Lex in that movie, as much as I loathed that movie, that Lex Luthor in that movie was far more interesting than this character. And they're kind of based from the same stock. Julian's mom, Gillian Anderson, his mom, as I said, serves hardly any purpose. And Athena's motivation is the weakest. She's just programmed to behave how she does. She ends up being no more than like a Terminator. And while the Terminator is a cool character, I don't need to see that in Tron when there's so many other themes that could have been explored. And she's so much a Terminator where it doesn't make sense because a lot of her actions are not logical. The only character I found interesting is Eve King, played by Greta Lee. She's motivated to do good for the society due to the death of a loved one. So right away, you kind of get some emotional investment in that character. Lee actually feels like a real person, but unfortunately in this movie, she's surrounded by cardboard cutouts. There was a brief moment where I had fun with this movie. It was during a chase sequence involving the light cycles. And let me tell you, in all of these Tron movies, for me, the light cycles are the coolest thing in the movies. It was very cool seeing these things zip through the city, the real city, and this scene was genuinely exciting. The light cycles, they have those light trails that are solid light, and they were using those as weapons, and it was just kind of creative. Now, what was weird about it was they've established the light cycles in the real world, and then after that, we never see them again, right? After that scene, we never see them again. And I just thought it was weird that the digital people would just pull all kinds of different vehicles and weapons out of their ass inconsistently. For example, at one point, Athena creates one of those huge flying bipods. I believe they're called recognizers, if I remember correctly. And she travels through the real city in the real world, hunting down Eve. And it's really cool seeing that thing go through the buildings, like this massive Godzilla-like monster. Is very scary looking. But I'm like, one, how in the hell was she able to create that massive thing in the Dillinger warehouse where all of the photon beings, whatever you call them, that creates the constructs, they were all in this warehouse that there's no way it could have fit that huge monstrous vehicle. And two, why bother chasing Eve with a light cycle instead of creating that thing at the beginning and just hunting her down right away? There's no way she could have escaped that. There's also a brief scene that may score points with fans of the original Tron movie, but it's very brief. But, you know, I kind of found myself geeking out just slightly, and I don't want to say why, but I've already hinted at it. We see something that I just thought was very cool, but it lasted for like that long. Other critics are praising the score, the music score by Nine Inch Nails, and I guess the music fits for this. It's that same kind of hyper-tech dance, electronic music that you hear in The Matrix and the John Wick movies. You know what I'm talking about, but I found it intrusive after a while. The music style never changes and it permeates every scene until it just becomes an annoying white noise. So in summary, Tron Ares has some great visuals and a couple exciting scenes. I don't think I'm hating it as much as a lot of other critics that I'm seeing on YouTube, but I didn't care about any of the characters except for Greta Lee's character. And generally the story didn't do anything for me. There were a couple exciting scenes, so thank God for that. And just because of those few scenes, I'm just going to give it 2 reels. There's a mid-credit scene that indicates there will be another Tron movie. But given the amount of time it apparently takes to release these movies, I mean, this movie took 15 years to put out from the Tron Legacy movie, and the Tron Legacy movie came out in 2010, where the original one came out in 1982. So how long is that? So what I'm trying to say is, if they do put out another movie based on what I saw in the mid-credit scene, chances are by the time it's released, I won't be around to see it. And honestly, I'm okay with that. And that's the martini, folks. Tell me what you thought of the film. Did you like it? Did you absolutely hate it? I didn't absolutely hate it, but man, that seems to be the prevailing wisdom on the street. Also, subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, share this video, and I will see you at the next review. Take care, guys.